Hi, my name is Emily Meyer. I am 23 years old. I live in Aberdeen, South Dakota. I love going to thrift stores. I love my dog, Cammie. She's a German Shepherd. And I am currently in school. I'm a history major at Northern State University. I'm also an Ending the Silence presenter for NAMI, which I love doing. And I think I've struggled with mental illness probably my entire life. Some of the first symptoms I had, the first time I remember thinking of them as symptoms, is when I was 5 years old. I was pretty suicidal. Not in a way I would describe as strictly or definitionally suicidal. I was always like, I want to go home. And that same feeling is the feeling I would feel later when I was really suicidal. And so I've kind of been dealing with depression, anxiety, potentially bipolar disorder my whole life. It's messy, it's not perfect. And so my symptoms eventually got worse over time. I know once I graduated high school, and even my senior year of high school when I was 18, they really started just snowballing. I was hospitalized. In the spring of my senior year, I went off to college and a couple of bad things happened with my family, and it just was like, woof. Everything got wild and crazy, and I started experiencing symptoms that potentially could be bipolar disorder, potentially could be just me responding to trauma. Who knows? No one ever knows. But I would move all the time. I moved 8 times in 2 years, I remember, in a period of my life. And I was very on and off suicidal. I was hospitalized. One time I was detained by the police to be taken to a hospital because I had called a suicide hotline. I was coping terribly with what I was going through in my head. I would drop in and out of college. I went to 3 different colleges before I finally settled down at Northern, and I dropped out of one of them twice. When I didn't drop out on time, I failed out of classes, except for like one class. I'm serious. And everything was just chaotic. I would spend all my money. I was moving all the time, and I was insanely sad all the time. And I kind of got to a point where I sat down with my really good friend Cheyenne and I said, like, holy buckets, I can't do this anymore. And I kind of made a goal for myself to sit down and hash out what I wanted my life to look like, because I was 21 at the time and I just was, I felt out of control. And in some ways I was, in some ways I wasn't. And I just sat down and I said, I need to move home. And so I moved back to Aberdeen, and I made a goal for myself that I would stay in Aberdeen for 2 years. And I'm happy to say that it is coming up on the 2nd year of me being here, and I have no intentions of leaving so far. So that sounds horrible, but awesome at the same time for me as a person who was moving so frequently. And the way I really got help is my best friend was, vital in me understanding that I needed to reach out to other people and get help. I was in St. Paul at the time when I was living with her, and she really helped me figure that out. And so I reached out to my parents, I reached out to people at Northern. After a while, I came home and didn't go to school for a bit first. So I talked to my parents, I talked to family, I got in with a counselor and saw her regularly once a week. I went and saw a doctor, so I'm on medication. I'm on 2 medications that really balance me out, so I'm not too high that I'm like, woohoo, I gotta go move across the country, like to Virginia again or something like that. But I'm also not like, I should kill myself, because I really need an in-between for me, and the 2 medications I'm on are really helpful with that. Obviously it's different for everyone. For me, finding those medications took like 18 different tries of different medications, and so it really is a learning process, not only about yourself but about how your body physiologically reacts to it. I, as I mentioned, see a therapist, and I also try to take care of myself, like drink enough water, eat enough veggies. I try to be active, I exercise, go on long walks, and just make sure I'm getting some motion in for my day. And then really, really vital for me is making sure I sleep regularly, because there would be times where I just wasn't sleeping at all for days, and there would be times where I'd sleep for 18 hours a day, and I just knew that that was not great for me. And so regulating my sleep schedule, making sure I get 8 to 9 hours of sleep every single night, that is really helpful. To anyone who is struggling with those same things, I feel like we talk about anxiety and depression in a lot of ways of sadness or cutting, but it can be other things too. You can be moving across the country, getting new jobs all the time and stuff like that, because that's what I was experiencing, and I didn't realize those were really classic symptoms of mental illness. And so if you're struggling with something like that, or even if you're not struggling with that, if your symptoms look completely different, I would say that there's absolutely hope for you. and to reach out, because reaching out to someone, getting help, having structure, having someone who holds you accountable to your goals. Like my therapist was really instrumental in holding me accountable to my don't move goal, and that has made all of the difference. I now am a full-time student at Northern. I stayed there for a whole year, which doesn't sound that exciting, but for me it really is. And I actually just finished up classes last week. I'm getting really good grades. I am socializing with my friends. I'm staying on top of my life. I'm not moving across the country. And all of those things I was able to accomplish by reaching out, finding the resources in my community, and being able to finally feel better.